the Muskegon Channel. It's Andy O'Reilly, and today I am down at the Drain Commissioner's office. This is Brenda Moore, and I want to start the story off today by saying this is not exactly what we're known for, being in the middle of a bit of a controversy. I mean, there's some controversy around Brenda, and we're going to give the opposition a chance to talk as well, but Brenda has been nice enough to take a few minutes out today to talk a little bit about the Drain Commissioner, what you do, who you are. Thank you. I know this can't be the easiest time for you, especially with everything going on. And cameras are scary, and people you don't know are scary. So thank you for taking a minute to talk about, let's start off with you.
Okay, well.
I don't think you get to be the Drain Commissioner overnight.
No.
Tell me a little bit about how you worked your way to become the Drain Commissioner in Muskegon.
I actually kind of tripped into it, to be honest with you. Real quickly, grew up in Grand Rapids area, have worked in government for 35 years. Consulting, so it's kind of in the governmental groove.
Okay.
My training is natural resource management and planning, so most of what I've done in my life is like city planning.
Okay.
So Mr. Fisher was the previous drain commissioner, and he passed away in office.
Okay.
And I was asked if I would be interested in the position. And so I thought, I didn't stand a chance, but what the heck, they asked me,
sure.
Put in my resume, yada yada, and I was appointed.
Okay.
So I was appointed. I probably never would have run, to be honest with you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And so a year after I was appointed, I had to run.
Yeah.
They told me that after I got appointed.
Surprise!
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. So I had some really good coaches in terms of mentoring on how you run for office. You know, that's not real easy, and there's a lot of mysteries. Yeah. So I was elected for the first time in 14. And then I had to run for a full term in 16.
Okay.
So I've gone through 2 elections.
Okay.
But it's still a wild ride.
It is.
And yeah, and so once you get into it and you see that you're getting things accomplished or people have believed in you, you kind of keep going because honestly, some days I wonder.
Sure.
But, you know, I'm here.
Yeah.
So
tell me what kind of shape the office was in when you took it over. I know you don't want to speak ill of anybody that's passed away or anything like that.
No.
But when you got here, what kind of shape was the office in?
Well, I'd like to preface it with the rules have changed. So it was rather chaotic in terms of records. There wasn't a lot of, because, you know, you get in, you're like, okay, where's our procedures and where's sort of the guidebook for drain commissioners?
Sure.
And there just wasn't anything. There wasn't anything in the way of written procedures. The files weren't what I would have liked them to be. So it was kind of wild. But that was an opportunity too, because we could decide, and when I say we, the other person in this office is a deputy that I appoint.
Okay.
And is Ms. Barrett, Stephanie Barrett, and she was here under the previous drain commissioner. So I'm like, okay, you know, what do we do?
Sure.
And so we were able to sort of build, this is our protocol, this is how we do things. There wasn't any protocol on how to get contractors or how to solicit bids or how to pick, but that's pretty standard in government,
right.
You know, bidding and lowest responsible. And then something happened when I took office. State rules changed, so it changed how drain commissioners have to do business.
Okay.
So.
And is that was that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it is, but I think some of the constituents don't like that.
Okay.
Because what happened is drain commissioners actually started in the mid-1800s.
Okay.
The drain code is 200 years old.
Right.
And back when, and I actually heard stories about this in college, drain commissioners did a lot of environmental damage. I mean, back then we were trying to drain swamps for development and not have malaria, and so fine. But what they did is they could dig, blow up a stream, straighten it out, and go away.
Okay.
And up until 2013, they could still, what I call dig and go. Now we have to worry about wetland protection, water quality, soil erosion control, all the things that a developer would have to worry about, we have to do now. And that happened the same year I took office. So you walk into some chaos and not a lot of protocol. By the way, lady, the rules changed, and you got some work to do.
Right.
So I think the recall and the angst against this office has a lot to do with that coming together and me being kind of a worker bee.
Sure.
I've been accused of taking on too much too soon in other jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
You bring up the
Does that
recall.
make sense?
Yeah, I get. Yeah, me taking on too much too soon. Yeah, I get that.
We had a backlog.
Yeah,
We had a backlog of things.
you bring up the recall.
Yes.
And I can only imagine what that's like. I mean, A, personally, and B, professionally. It's got to be some pretty scary stuff, but you're also in charge of assessing people, which
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
I mean, you talk $5 assessment and they're PO'd about that.
Well, I think
And
as a
some of these
principal-
assessments have been big.
Yeah, well, for the project that was the source of the recall, yeah, but it was unusual. It was putting a stormwater system in a subdivision.
Right.
Most of the work that we do is in open ditches, open streams, a lot cheaper. So
Yeah.
we're not going underground with stuff. So that was a project I inherited.
Yep.
And it was different than usual. So just tune up the angst on that whole
Sure.
thing.
Sure.
The recall, to be honest with you, and I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, I wasn't real worried about it. I can't be.
Right.
You know, I got something to do and I just kind of focused. It has been a source of a lot of friction and tension somewhat on my part, but it's like, well, it's going to roll out how it's going to roll out.
Sure.
And just as people will choose me to keep in office in a vote, they can choose to get me out. And until that happens, business as usual.
Got to do a job.
Yeah, and I think that's been the source of more frustration with some of these folks, honestly, is the whole push and intimidation and make her back down. I'm just sort of, nope, I got this thing to do.
Yeah.
I think some of that has fueled people's frustration even more because they're not getting the reaction they want.
Yeah.
I'm kind of not backing down. I'm taking different angles on stuff because I've gotten some really good input in general. But the recall, it's like, there's a lot of signatures. They have to, I think their deadline is February 1st, and they don't have a fraction of what they need.
Well,
And I've been told by a lot of seasoned politicians, they're never going to get all the signatures, don't worry.
Yeah.
But you can't help it.
Well, yeah.
Some of the stuff I've been hearing about Facebook, ooh,
Well, and you said you're not on,
no.
so you're not seeing any of this or really being
I'm
affected
getting-
by any of it.
Well,
or-
I'm getting reports from
Yeah.
supporters, and I'm like, what? They're saying what?
Yeah.
And I actually have a written statement I've decided to roll out because people are like, if you don't say something about some of this stuff, people are going to think it's true.
Yeah.
In the absence of you speaking up.
Well, and here you are.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, that
But-
fair is fair.
But the biggest thing that has frustrated me about this is I have to do so much damage control.
Right.
And there's defending decisions and trying to show records to sometimes folks who don't want to listen,
Mm-hmm.
including the county board. I was in front of all meetings. I had our engineer, and they're mad. They've made up their mind. They've decided I'm doing whatever wrong. And all attempts at communication, in my opinion, it's like all they hear is wah, 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 wah.
Right.
So, A, you're taking me away from doing work for the community, and B, I'm trying to communicate, but it's just not working. C, what's wrong with me because I can't seem to get past this impasse.
Right.
And then at some point you just go, well, I'm just going to do the best I can. Here I go.
Right. And
Yeah.
find out and let the cards fall where they may.
I'm employable.
All right.
Yeah.
I wonder about me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm hopelessly unemployable.
No, you find your niche. You find your niche.
I do. Is there a final thought you'd like to leave us with? Because we're going to talk to Jeremy, and we're going to roll that right after this. And as I explained to Jeremy, there's no pre-talk. There's your side and his side.
Yep. No,
he's
that's
he's
fair.
the head of the recall.
That's fair.
And again, I'm no big investigative reporter. I'm no guy popping out from behind the thing going, "Hey, surprise!" It's the news guy.
Yeah,
I want both
yeah.
sides of the story to be told.
No,
So give us a final
that's
thought.
Great. If I had to summarize what I'm trying to do and what I really strongly believe in is the drains and creeks that I work on are headwaters to all our major lakes. Mona Lake, Bear Lake, Muskegon Lake, all of them. And they all discharge to Lake Michigan.
Yes.
So what we do upstream and how I'm a steward or not of these systems is very important. And because the state has changed the rules, it costs more to do a good job. I'd probably do it anyway because of my training,
Sure.
but I'm not going to apologize for that. Muskegon is rich with surface water, and we have to take care of it. And I'm proud that I have a piece of that
Sure.
duty.
Okay.
And so I'm going to continue to do that. And if the public says we don't want you, I can go out of office feeling like I did the best I could.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Brenda Moore, the Muskegon County Drain Commissioner. We're going to hear from Jeremy
Hooker.
Hooker. Yeah, she knows it better than I do. I haven't met Jeremy yet, but we're going to meet him now, right here on the Muskegon Channel. Brenda, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. Welcome back. It's part two. It's Andy O'Reilly, and today I am at the home of Jeremy Hooker over in Fruitport Township.
Yes.
That's where you're at. Speak up just a little bit. The mics are good. They're not great. You know, we're kind of a poor news agency. We are here, as you just heard from our Drain Commissioner, Brenda Moore. We're here with Jeremy Hooker, who is you're the lead of this recall effort on Brenda. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this.
Not a problem, man. You guys have been through a lot. And we talked a little bit before we got the cameras rolling. And like I said with Brenda, I don't pretend to be anybody that knows everything about all this kind of stuff. I want to get both sides of the story going on. So
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about this recall effort and how it's impacted your neighborhood.
All right. Well, actually, the BOD that we had was probably the first
Board of Determination.
Board of Determination meeting was the first real meeting that I've ever been to in regards to government or my community.
Right.
So at that Board of Determination, it's kind of an eye opener. You know, it's overwhelming. You see a lot of reports from the engineer, what they think that should happen, and then you hear statements from the people about what they're going through. There wasn't much talk about any opposition to it. You know, some people were
To the drain project that you're in.
right to the drain
Give me a
project.
little history about this drain project in
Well,
your specific. It's the Coolest drain.
It's the coolest drain. I never even knew I was moving next to a drain until this meeting. But at this meeting, I think a lot of us were genuinely concerned for our neighbors.
Yeah.
There was one gentleman that came from another area that kind of told us a little bit and kind of warned us, hey, you know, this could turn disastrous if you guys don't kind of speak up. And a little bit of commotion started. Some people that would get up and oppose it at that point, which there wasn't really much opposition, but when there was, it was kind of chaotic. The board members would actually tell people to sit down and shut up and hear what the
And this is because people are upset because you guys got like a $12,000.
well, 12 to 13,000.
$12,000 to $13,000
the
assessment.
There's one property that has a large property that was actually assessed $20,000.
Okay.
Which it was 60, but he negotiated with her, and on his site, on his property, he had systems put in place to keep the water on his property because he needed the water for things that he does for his business. So she lowered that from 60,000 down to 20,000. But these people would get up in opposition, and the board members would tell them to sit down and shut up and listen to the engineers. So that was kind of my first smack at it.
Sure.
And at this board meeting, we were told, if you don't have problems or if you're not going to benefit from this system, you will not pay. Or we will take that in consideration. I pretty much said, I remember her saying, you will not pay. So time went on. They decided at the board meeting to do the project. Never in our wildest dreams would we think that the $2.5 million later and almost $13,000 bill, that that would be the outcome.
Right.
We wanted to help our neighbors, but had no idea that this would be the scope of it.
Was this a project that was started by the county? Was this something that was started here in your neighborhood? How did the whole thing come to be?
So in the beginning, there was one person who I believe started it. He petitioned, I'm not sure if it was Gary Fisher in the beginning, and then it seemed almost like a witch hunt. It seemed like they came out to our neighborhood to find more people that had problems.
Okay.
In the end, I think it was 3 or 5 people that signed the petition to have the work done, which is concerning to me because this project, it literally affected hundreds and hundreds of people.
Sure.
And to have 5 people be a benchmark to make that decision was concerning.
Yeah.
We definitely want the laws changed for that in Michigan. That these laws were made back when the population was not so dense, and now that you have hundreds of people living in one spot, in our case, 5 neighbors ended up having their contractors build their houses too low, and that made all of our lives change.
Not a good way.
Not in a good way.
Expensive.
Right.
Right. So this fight's been going on for quite some time. You've tried to work with her. You tell.
So yeah, in the beginning, I came to her, and the dollar amounts kind of came out, and we decided, whoa,
It was high.
it was high.
It's $12,000.
You're right.
Yeah, or up to 20.
Right.
And I have to tell you this: I wouldn't know where to turn or what to do if
Right.
that kind of bill was handed to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do myself.
So personally, I went to her and asked her some questions. Told her that I believed I was high, that my house is high. I have no tiling. I have no drain, no pump. And she seemed concerned. Said she would look at it. Said that we had time. That she didn't plan on doing anything for a couple months. So I said, all right, and we had a few more days before we could appeal the project. So the very next day I went in there, and no more did she see me. Became pretty upset, and I didn't even say a word. And she seemed upset, told me that us people need to leave her alone, that we are impeding her from doing her job, that the price of the project would go up if she had to keep wasting time answering questions and kind of being thrown off course by our questions.
Sure.
And what have you. So I felt bad, I didn't really know what to do at that point. We didn't want to appeal it either, because during an appeal, any lawyer requires a $10,000 bond. So I mean, you're just kissing $10,000 away when your drain work costs $12,000
Right.
to $13,000 is our average in our neighborhood. So it didn't quite seem to make sense at that point. We had one neighbor that did file an appeal, and based on what the drain commissioner was saying, and she almost talked like she was willing to work with us. So we had hope in that, and the appeal was dropped. It was, it came to the point where the bond had to be given, or you have to take away the appeal. So we took away the appeal. And it went right back. The drain commissioner got stone-faced and hard-nosed, and went back to, this is what's going to happen, and you need to let me just do my job.
Right.
In this whole, the reason this is really frustrating is there's so many things that the drain commissioner has came to us and either has said or has did or has promised to do. Not really promised, but she said she was going to do, and it was not that way. It was totally different. So throughout that appeal, or throughout that process, grab my train of thought, run away on me.
Right. It happens.
So
I've been in front of these things for years, man. I get it.
so that because of that, she said she would work with us, and she got stone-faced. So I decided to start looking at my avenues. We had a neighbor that suggested we do the recall, and it really seemed to make the most sense, most viable. Because of what we got in our neighborhood, we literally got perforated plastic pipe, a pipe with holes in it with a sock on it. And all that does is sits underneath the ground and it goes over to the ditch,
Yep.
which the ditch is the drain.
Yep.
And to have a $2.5 million project throughout our neighborhood, and all we got was a plastic pipe, and the plastic pipe runs up into our yards a little bit, and those serve as a hookup point. So if I had water, I could plumb it into that pipe, and it would take my water away, and essentially it would run to the drain. Since this project has been done, which it is notable to mention that since I started the recall, our project was not even supposed to begin until next year. But because I'm recalling her, she fast-tracked our drain project to this last year. Okay, so why that happened, I guess I understand. She wanted to get it done. I'm not sure if she wanted me to run out of money. I'm not sure what the point was, but it is what it is. I'm at a loss. You know,
Yeah.
I'm at a loss that all I'm trying to do is help the community. I'm trying to understand. I'm not an engineer, but I've hired an engineer for my own property. And when she said in the BOD, if you do not have, a problem, you will not pay. Well, I hired my own engineer. My engineer stated that I was high enough, that I'm higher than, the stipulation is you have to be 1 foot higher than the high water mark.
Okay.
So I'm 1 foot higher than the water mark, over 1 foot higher than the water mark. But her engineer claimed I was not. The way that they did their engineering was interesting, to say the least. They came through and put a meter or a reader for elevation on our steps, and just decided in their own right how deep our basements were. Some neighbors around the neighborhood that have bi-levels are said to have basements as deep as ranch style houses. If you do your research about bi-levels, they're not as deep as a ranch style home.
Right.
So that is just concerning to me, how she's getting away with using an engineering company that is using methods that are not accurate. When I did my personal survey, a very well-known local surveyor came, and you have to go in the basement of a house to shoot the elevation.
Sure.
That's just the proper way. I actually called Brenda and asked her, hey, are you sure my elevation's right? Can you come out and re-look at this? And I have security cameras, and I looked at them, reviewed them, and she just walked around my yard and then got back in her car and left. And then she told me, nope, you're too low. It's concerning to me that this is what we have for a checks and balances. The drain commissioner position in the bylaws for Michigan, the language is so strong that there's no checks and balances at all.
Right.
Matter of fact, Muskegon County actually sued her because when she got into office, she went to Muskegon County and said, I want to raise the amount of the whole county's portion for each drain. She raised it to 20%. I'm not sure what it was before. I'm not even going to speculate. But she raised it to 20%, and the county sued her over it. And the county lost because the Drain Commission language states that she can get up to 25%, and nobody can say two words about it.
Wow. So so not only is it a Brenda Moore thing with you, you want to change this on a state level. So
Right, correct.
this can't happen everywhere else.
Right, and I'm not a proponent to no work.
Sure.
I want work to be done where it's needed, but I also want checks and balances put in place where we're not wasting money.
Sure.
$2.5 million is a lot
Dude.
to help 5 houses.
Right.
In the whole scheme of things, literally, we helped 5 neighbors for $2.5 million.
Right.
Which is concerning. That's concerning to me. I'm very concerned. I had one other thing I was going to say on the edge of that, but there's no oversight. There's no, and it's almost like this. If you buy a house, if your sink's broke, do you throw out the house and buy a new house, or do you fix the sink?
Right.
And I think that's what.
So you're saying
What
that
should be an option?
you would rather seen the 5 houses get the attention,
Right.
instead of this entire whole big thing.
And it's a hard line to walk, but it goes back to the builders and having some accountability when a builder puts his house too low.
Sure.
That should be they should be held accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that there needs to be a little more of that. Maybe the years of so that things don't pass the limitations.
Yeah.
Statute of limitations. I think that needs to change.
Yeah.
When Brenda was sworn into office in 2013, she sold the maintenance equipment out of the office, and she worked strictly under special assessment. Maintenance is a whole lot cheaper than special assessments, because special assessments are geared towards tearing everything out and building new.
Right.
I think that should change.
Okay. Where are you at in the process of the recall at this point?
In the process of the recall, we're getting signatures, and I'm just asking if anybody wants to sign, or if they feel that they think that this is a change Muskegon needs to make,
Or the state, for that matter.
or the state as well. Yeah.
I mean, you're making a big statement here.
Yeah, Muskegon's already had to close Brookhaven, and they just built a huge jail. We don't have money to put at things that aren't a problem
Right.
or don't need to be done.
Right.
And as I'd also go as far to say, get into your public offices, go to meetings. If you get a letter, don't ignore it. Go in and find out what the buzz is about, because if you don't show you don't speak your voice, participate,
Yeah.
that you're just gonna be along for the ride.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for taking a couple of minutes is there any final thoughts you'd like to leave them with?
No, my final thought is it goes along with the petition. If this is something that you feel strong about, reach out and get a hold of somebody and sign the petition.
Okay. It's a tough spot, man. I don't envy you a bit, and I know it's hard to sit in front of a camera and tell a story like this. It really is.
I appreciate it.
I don't envy you a bit. I really don't, and I'm sorry you're in such a pickle. And after talking with Brenda yesterday, I'm sorry she's in such a pickle.
I am too.
I really am. And we work to, this isn't the kind of story, and I told you this coming in, this isn't normally the kind of thing that we do, and I think both parties have been great in explanation. If we do something that's got some teeth to it like this, we want both parties to just tell their side and explain it to people out there, and not turn it into a, who can hit who harder in the nose. That's what we're looking for. So I wish you the best. I hope for an outcome that helps everybody. I wish I had the knowledge and everything up there to just say this is how it's not to be done that time, but
Right.
I don't. Jeremy Hooker with the Coast Drain Neighbors, and there you have it. Both sides of the story about this Brenda Moore recall. Appreciate your time, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
The conversation continues. Tammi Barnhart is here, and she's part of the Coast Drain Neighbors. Tammi, we talked way before any of this really kind of blew up, and you had a few thoughts that you'd like to share about this whole recall thing and everything going on with the Coast Drain. Tell me a little bit about your side.
Yes, thank you. As you know, the recall started in 2013, and
Yeah.
it was a board of determination where the residents were afforded the opportunity to go to a meeting. There was over 200 of us at this meeting.
Yeah.
And on record, the minutes are out there. On record, there are 26 people against this, because the people that were started to talk against that were kind of told to shut up. Actually, it's in the minutes, word for word, in there, what everybody said. And there was 9 people, or 9 that were for it. Anyways, the board of determination decided to move forward with that and approve the project. Once that's done, Muskegon County was assessed a portion of this. So the county went and sued Brenda Moore, and that took a number of years. And unfortunately, due to the way the law is written, the county had lost. Our township sued Brenda Moore due to the excessive spending. So when it came down to the end, when we got our assessments, we all discovered that on an average we're assessed $12,000 to $13,000 per homeowner,
Right.
for this project, and that's very difficult to pay. People are talking about getting another loan, a second mortgage, cashing in their IRAs in order to pay this, because if you don't pay the $12,000 up front, she did it so we could have 20 years to pay. But if you take that time over 20 years with the interest rate that she got for us, we're going to end up paying $17,000 to $18,000 for this project. So when this came out and we found out what we had to pay, we had an opportunity to appeal. And I actually went to the court and I filed an appeal for this. Upon doing that, I discovered that you would need a $10,000 retainer. And or a bond, a bond that I had to give to the court. That in case I lost, that money could be given to the county and given back to the residents because I sued the
Sure.
grant commissioner. What the county sued over was that the county was assessed 20% of our project, which means that every single person out there in Muskegon County is going to be helping pay for our project, which isn't fair. why should the other townships have to pay for a project in our neighborhood that, whether we needed it or not? It's just not fair for the rest of the county to pay for that.
Sure.
Plus, there's projects in other townships that she's assessing, and the county's all getting this, and we're all paying for all these projects. My thing with this was that this was excessive spending. When I filed for the appeal, I asked the judge to give me a mandatory meeting with the drain commissioner, because she has been not accessible. We haven't had the opportunity. If you go to her office, it'll be dark and the door is locked, and if you continue to annoy them enough, they will come around the corner and answer the door. But she'll only answer the door and look out and answer your question and tell her, send me an email, and you get the door slammed in your face. Which I don't think is fair. She's supposed to be there for us and us the people. We
Sure.
elected her, and we want her to do what's best for us as a community. But we've also discovered that there's excessive spending. This firm for our neighborhood, the firm that she hired, the judge did order us to have a mandatory meeting. So it was me, another resident, actually 2 other residents, Brenda Moore, her assistant, and her engineer. During this meeting, her engineer admitted that he did not do the work in my neighborhood, in my neighborhood. And so the numbers that were presented there were not accurate. I actually hired a reputable, local, certified company who was experienced in this, and they actually did the work on my property and another property. And on my property, there was a 2-foot difference. On the other property at the end of the road, there was a 6-foot difference in elevation. Now that's not a mistake. There's clearly something wrong with these numbers. And that was presented to the drain commissioner, and the drain commissioner ignored this science. She ignored this proof, even though her engineer admitted he didn't actually do the work. So the numbers that they provided were not accurate. And she didn't even consider that and went forward with having the work done. Additionally, her engineer firm said that the township needed a culvert replaced. Well, our township supervisor, Heidi Tice, got a hold of the county road commission. County Road Commission inspected that culvert, and they discovered that it still had 25 years of service left.
Wow.
That's a big difference between needing to be replaced and will it last 25 years.
Yeah.
So her engineer firm did concede in that and did give up that. So that saved $70,000. But I think that's another indication that this engineer firm was not thorough enough or not accurate enough in what they are proposing.
Sure.
And they proposed the whole big bombshell of work. And that's what she accepted. She accepted the most expensive allowance to get the job done when there could have been other steps done down below this that could have saved the county some money and saved the residents some money. And I just think it's unfair that she's not accessible. She's picking the most expensive projects. And I think we could get somebody in there who's going to really work for us, the community.
Okay. Perfect.
And I guess,
I know this has been a big thing for you too.
yes.
It really has.
It has. It's been an ongoing frustrating thing, but I really would like somebody in office to represent us, the people.
Sure.
And to put a lasso on excessive spending.
Yeah, I get it. I really do. Again, I wish I had a wand to wave to fix it all. I wish I had the knowledge of the years and wisdom that everybody seems to think that everybody's got. I wish I had a quick answer, but I appreciate you taking the time to say your side of things as well. And man, it's a tough one.
Yes.
It
Thank
really
you.
is. Thank you. Again, the argument continues, and I don't know. I wish I had the answers, but we're doing what we can to get both sides of the story right here on the Muskegon Channel.